The government is shut down. Babies are losing access to formula. Federal workers are not getting paychecks. School lunch programs are running out of money. And the president just announced he's going to keep bombing boats in the Caribbean and expand those strikes to the land without asking Congress, without showing evidence of any wrongdoing, just killing people. Let me show you what I mean. Cut to the clip.
Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay? Yeah.
I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're just going to kill them. Like he's ordering coffee. The government is literally shut down right now because Republicans in Congress refuse to give Americans health care. We supposedly don't have enough money for WIC benefits that feed 6.5 million mothers and babies. We don't have money to keep Head Start classrooms open. We don't have money to pay federal workers, but there's always unlimited money that doesn't need a congressional vote, money that just appears whenever the president decides he wants to bomb something. Since September, the military has attacked at least 9 vessels in the Caribbean and the Pacific Ocean. They've killed at least 37 people. They've deployed thousands of troops, F-35 fighter jets, and a nuclear submarine, all without Congress voting on it, all without showing us any evidence that there were people that they killed that were actually criminals. And now Trump's saying he's expanding these operations to land. More strikes, which will mean more people killed without evidence, without any evidence of wrongdoing or, due process, and more military deployments that nobody authorized or asked for. While mothers are panicking about how to feed their babies, let me show you what Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth posted about the latest strike. The Secretary of War posted this overnight. He's bragging about a lethal kinetic strike that killed at least 6 people. He calls them narco-terrorists, but again, there's zero evidence. He says the vessel was known by our intelligence to be smuggling drugs, but that intelligence cannot be confirmed. And then he ends this threat with, "Day or night, we will hunt you down and kill you." Pete Hegseth, the same guy who drunk texted war plans and somehow rose from the ranks of Fox and Friends, is now our Secretary of Defense, which was, by the way, rebranded by him to Secretary of War, a role previously held by seasoned career officials with real policymaking experience. And he's now announcing extrajudicial killings on Instagram like it's a flex. At least six human beings are dead, and we have no idea if they were actually drug smugglers. There was no trial, no evidence presented to the public, no congressional oversight. Just Pete Hegseth, the drunk war plans texter, being extremely toxic online. And something we don't talk about enough is the fact that he reverted to Secretary of War sends a signal. It's a shift from defensive readiness to aggressive militarized force, which is normalizing permanent warfare. It suggests that peacetime legal constraints and congressional oversight no longer apply. It's essentially announcing that the administration sees itself as being in a constant state of war, where normal rules don't matter, which is exactly the mindset authoritarian, fascist governments use to justify unchecked executive power. Think of it this way. Imagine if your local police chief suddenly started calling himself Chief of Civilian Combat or Chief of Overreach and Brutality, like saying that out loud instead of Chief of Police. You'd probably wonder why he's emphasizing fighting over protecting and serving, right? The name change from defense to war works the same way. It tells you how the person sees their job as waging war rather than protecting the country, which matters because it suggests that they think that the normal rules and oversight don't apply during peacetime, that they don't apply to them anymore. And here's the thing. This is the first nighttime strike. They're escalating. They're getting bolder. And they're doing it all while the government is very much shut down, supposedly because we don't have enough money to give Americans health care. You need to really care about this because Congress doesn't agree on funding WIC or school lunches or housing vouchers, but the military and the drunk war plans texter guy can conduct nighttime strikes in international waters without even asking for permission. This is fucked up. Now you might think, okay, Lauren, you're being a little partisan here. You might just think that this is typical leftist criticism of a Republican administration. But even Fox News reporters are starting to ask questions. Cut to the clip.
I remember the day the first vote was struck, and Jesse told me, do you want to be on the side of narco-terrorists? And I said, no, not especially. Like, let's see where this goes. And now we're up to multiple votes, and it's not just Venezuelan votes. The Colombians say that one of the votes was theirs, and that 2 Colombian nationals, I think 2 or 3, were murdered when they were struck, and that they weren't drug traffickers. Now, do I know if that's the case or not? I'm not sure, but there is a reason that we're—
Don't let that stop you.
Well, don't let the Constitution stop you. And there's supposed to be oversight. As Dana mentioned, there are Republicans and Democrats alike saying, you know, this is turning into more of a habit than just striking one vote, and that we are supposed to have a say in this. And historically speaking, and I know you're going to make fun of me, but
I will.
That's why I come to work every day. Drug traffickers were considered criminals with due process rights. And this is the conversation we've been having as well about undocumented people in this country who also have due process rights, as Antonin Scalia affirmed. And I don't know if it's a good precedent or road to be going down that he's essentially starting some degree of war without Congress being able to see anything. The intel community, the people who chair these committees, are not getting to see what it is that, you know, the basis for the actions that they're taking. And I don't think that you're going to be that comfortable with the idea of them going into Venezuelan land without there being any verification besides, you know, Trump and Pete Hegseth said so.
Jessica Tarlov works at Fox News. She's not just some progressive activist. And even she's saying, wait a minute, this has gone from one vote to multiple strikes with foreign nationals dead and zero oversight. When Fox News is asking, at what point will Congress demand answers? You know, something has gone seriously sideways, because this is not normal. This is not how our system is supposed to work. The president doesn't just get to wake up one day and conduct military operations that kill people without any sort of congressional authorization. That's literally in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the power to declare war, not the president. But Trump has decided that calling people narco-terrorists means he can bypass all of that. And with a MAGA majority in Congress, they're just letting it happen while they shut down the government over budget disputes, so we can't afford to feed babies. But we can always afford unauthorized military operations in the Caribbean. Got it. Okay. And it gets worse, because while all of this is happening, while the government is shut down and families are losing access to food that they need to survive, and federal workers aren't getting paid, let me show you what else your tax dollars are buying. Cut to the clip.
While on the subject of travel, you received some criticism about the recent purchase of two business jets made by Gulfstream to the tune of $200 million going to the Coast Guard, which is one of your departments. It was stated by the 2 representatives about their questioning about this. They said that your frequent appearances at ongoing operations, which required the diversion of resources to focus on your security, appears to be unjustified. What is your comment to that?
These aircraft are Coast Guard aircraft to replace 25-year-old airplanes that are necessary for the mission of the Coast Guard. Congress appropriated the dollars and paid for them in the big, beautiful bill, and we're grateful that we're able to move forward and make sure that Force Design 2028 for the Coast Guard is mission fulfilled, and they can continue to serve our country, not just in a search and rescue mission, but also cooperating with our Department of War. And they're helping us in incredible ways with drug interdiction and bringing these cartels to justice as well. Yes.
Kristi Noem, dog-killing Kristi Noem, Secretary of our Homeland Security, got $140 million, or according to some reports, $200 million private jet upgrade. A luxury PJ that costs $140 or $200 million of taxpayer money. And when she's asked about it, I see deflection and I see entitlement. How do people still stand for this? I intentionally try to get perspectives from the other side. I seek out opposing viewpoints so I can better understand the logic. So that way I can hopefully use my privilege to help pull some people out of these deeply red-pilled delusional states. And I had a conversation recently with somebody who's an immigrant who said, Lauren, but ICE is getting the cartel and the cartel is bad, no? And yes, of course, drug cartels are bad. Nobody's arguing with you on that. But saying cartels are bad doesn't make bombing boats or complete governmental overreach with ICE, terrorizing communities, tear gassing elementary schools, and zip tying children. This is not an excuse or an ineffective solution. We've been tough on cartels for 50 years, and drugs are cheaper than ever. When you inevitably encounter these conversations in your own life with folks who say, I support ICE raids and military strikes and family separations because drug cartels are bad, know that this is something that gives people permission to feel morally righteous. I'm against the bad guys. It allows them to avoid examining whether the policy actually works and dismisses concerns about civil liberties as protecting criminals while avoiding any sort of accountability and thinking about the human cost to innocent people. At some point, we have to admit that feeling tough and righteous and actually solving the problem are two completely different things. And we need to step out of the MAGA delulu and ground ourselves in the reality that federal workers with kids are not getting paychecks. Mothers can't buy formula with their WIC cards. School lunch programs are running out of contingency funds. But Kristi Noem needed a private jet that needed 140 or 200 million. That didn't materialize out of thin air. That's your taxpayer funding. It's your money. Every single dollar spent on that luxury PJ for a monster is a dollar that's not being spent on childcare, food aid, medical debt, housing assistance, or paying federal workers during a shutdown. Think about what 140 million could do. That could fund WIC benefits for months. That could keep Head Start programs open. That could prevent families from losing their housing vouchers. But instead, it's buying a PJ for a fucking monster. Listen, I have heard more people bitch about the myth of immigrants not paying taxes than I have about the reality of elite corporations using your taxpayer dollars to buy PJs for Kristi Noem. And to that point, undocumented immigrants pay an estimated $96 billion in taxes annually. Income taxes, sales taxes, through property taxes, through rent, payroll taxes that they'll never get Social Security benefits from. They pay into systems that they can't even access. But people have been told for years that immigrants are freeloaders who drain our resources without contributing. People will lose their minds over the myth that immigrants don't pay taxes, even though, again, undocumented people pay $96 billion in taxes annually. But you barely blink when Kristi Noem gets $140 million for a PJ on your taxpayer dime. This has never been about fiscal responsibility. It's always been about who we've been trained to see as the enemy. We're supposed to be mad at the powerless people at the bottom while the powerful people at the top rob you blind. And it's working. And when leaders say there's no money for basic programs but can greenlight elite perks for themselves, it reveals what and who they actually value. It's not you. It's not struggling families. It's not federal workers who are going without paychecks for over 20 days. It's about themselves and their comfort and their convenience. Americans are already cynical about the government. We already think politicians are corrupt and don't care about regular people. And we're right. And when we watch a cabinet secretary treat public funds like a personal expense account, and that cynicism, it gets validated. And the distrust, it gets reinforced. Every time something like this happens, it becomes harder to believe that the government can actually work for anyone except the people already in power. And here's what really worries me. If this kind of spending goes unchecked, unchallenged, future administrations will take it as a green light to do the same thing or worse. We're normalizing excess. We're eroding accountability. We're saying it's fine for public officials to live like royalty while the people they serve struggle. This becomes the baseline. This becomes what's expected. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to walk back because at its core, it's about fairness. Working people are told to sacrifice themselves during shutdowns. Tighten your belt, make do with less, figure it out. Federal workers are told they might not get paychecks for weeks, but they're showing up anyway. Families are told there's no money for programs that you depend on to survive, and your babies do too. It sends a clear message that public service isn't actually about serving the public. It's just another path to privilege and luxury. And when people see that, when they internalize that message, they stop believing that the system can ever actually work for them. They stop participating. They stop caring. And that's exactly how democracies die. The math doesn't math, and the priorities are broken. And the worst part about all this is it's happening right in front of our eyes while MAGA congressional elects argue about whether or not it's fair to give Americans health care. And if you've enjoyed this video, remember that immigrants do not show up at Target and then we are told, oh, you're an illegal immigrant, no taxes for you. It's bullshit. And Kristi Noem does not deserve that PJ. Please subscribe. I am Lauren P. across all social channels. We're well on our way to rebuilding with your support. We cannot do this without your support. I am a one-woman team, me and my dog Willa and Andy, who operates the camera, but we need your support to grow. Share this video with a friend. Share it on Facebook. Make sure the people in your communities who think that this is justified know exactly what's going on. And we'll be back with more.